Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name's Christine, and this video is part of the Inky background series. And I'm going to be showing you how you can add die cuts to your backgrounds to add some texture. So I have this sample here. Now originally, what was this one? I had done Distress inks in the background, I think. And so I've cut out these lace bits. It's from the Holtz Sizzix dies. I'll show you here. There are two different sets. This one here that has the bigger lace, and then the newer one has the smaller lace. And they are called Crochet. I think it's Crochet and Crochet 2. They're both available, obviously. This one came out last year, and this was a new release in January of 2020. So I cut out the pieces. And then I adhered them on with multi-medium and let them set. And then I went back in with some paint and Distress Crayons, which I'll show you how I painted it up, added some more color to around the edge, and just made it part of the background on the card. And it's another great way to add some texture. Here's one that's a little brighter, and I added this crochet from Crochet 2 along the bottom, and this time made it a little, with the pinks and that, a little brighter. Now this one, I started white and put this on the white sheet and then painted it and added the crayons and that. So with these two, I had already done the backgrounds and added the white one on top, and by painting and coloring added it onto. This one it started white, so I'll just show the difference. Here you can just, as the very first layer you do, you can add your die cut, and then as you're painting and inking and everything, the die cut's there adding texture. Or here, where I'd already done the background and then added it. So you don't have to worry like, I forgot to add it. You can add it on at any time. So I'm going to be working on this one, just showing you how I sort of paint it when you've already started a background. And I'm going to start with some acrylic paint. I have Cracked Pistachio and Mermaid Lagoon. And I'm just going to put some on my mat here. Again, that's a lot of paint, but so in this one I had used both these colors. So there's some Mermaid Lagoon and Cracked Pistachio. So I like to just sort of start by painting it, and then it sort of goes in. And then I want to blend my paint. I don't just want a line, so I might spritz it a bit. I want that paint to start to blend into my card. But I don't want it all off at the same time either. But it's like I'm adding another layer. Maybe while it's wet, I'm going to add a bit of the Mermaid Lagoon and blend it. Because we're adding an acrylic paint to a dye background, when it's wet, we may pick up some of that color. But the paints aren't like flowing smoothly over it because it's just a paper, right? We don't have like, say, a gesso base or whatever. Whereas here, the medium is acting as our base. And so it's flowing over the medium, but then when you hit the paper, it sort of soaks in a lot more. So at this point here, I'm going to give it a dry. Okay, it's still a little tacky, but I just want to go in and add a bit more paint in a few areas. And this time you can see I'm just using my finger because I want the control of where that paint goes. And see, that's too much paint, so I'm going to do that and then go over it with a bit of the Diecuts. Now because it's acrylic paint, every time you go over it, the color should sit on top of the other color. So I'm going to dry this. And I want more peacock. So you can see the peacock just sits, or not the peacock, sorry, pistachio just sits. Oh, I've got pink on my fingers from before, but that's okay because we're going to be adding more color. But the pistachio just sits on the Mermaid Lagoon. So if you do too much of a color you don't like, just dry it and put the color you do want over top. Okay, so I like that, but I think I'm just going to try and put a bit of color into my background, or a bit of the paint. This just sort of makes it more unified. Sort of like that. I'm going to rub off this excess paint. Okay. And I need to dry it a little more. So I have a little bit of paint in the sections there, I think. Okay, so you can see that it's sort of blended in, but it's not popping out, right? But at least we sort of blended it into our card. So this is where our Distress Crayons come in. So I'm going to pick out some colors I want to use. I think some Walnut Stain, Rusty Hinge, like white, maybe some spiced marmalade. I'm going to grab my other colors. The cracked pistachio, Mermaid Lagoon, maybe even some pink, who knows. Guess I will start with these colors. That was Red Persimmon I just caught. So this is where I love to use my crayons, is over top of this. The crayons are great because you have control. It's just you're choosing where you're going to put that color. That was Walnut Stain. And for the first layers, I'm sort of blending them in. Now, if it's not blending as much as you want, you can spritz a little water, pick it up, and just sort of blend the. So then I'm going to maybe do some of the mermaid. And you notice that I don't do the whole area. I'm just doing bits and pieces of it. And I'm trying to just keep the color on the raised area, not go down below. Now, because we used an acrylic paint, the crayons will blend a little more. Now, you know I love pink, so I just want a little pink in. There's not a lot of pink in this, so I'm not going to put a lot of pink. I'm going to go with the rusty hinge. Maybe some spiced marmalade, because I think that was spiced marmalade in there. Now, of course, you don't have to do multiple colors like I am. You can just do a couple colors and make it pop. But you should now see that it's starting to pop up off the page. Gonna get some cracked. See, when we put the cracked pistachio, because it was the background, it doesn't really pop off. Whereas when I used it on some other ones, we got more effect out of it. Maybe some mermaid. And then I'm going to come back with some walnut stain again. And you can see as you build it up, you can create a really cool design. Now these ones over here could use something. They're sort of hidden. And so I'll keep going back with the same colors that you've picked. And you're just sort of layering, smudging, not smudging the color. And it's really a matter of just playing around with the colors you like and the effect you want to get. Keep forgetting to push them up a little. Now, you could potentially do this with paint if you don't have the crayons. You can just easily, with some brown paint, just sort of go over it. There's many ways to cover these die cuts. Like this is specifically, when I just do like texture and that, I don't worry so much about bringing it up. I just continue to use it as a background. But I just think these laces are so pretty that I want to highlight them and sort of make them stand out from the background a bit. Or this one, it sort of blends into it, but still you're looking at that element. It's really pretty. Same with this one. Even though it sort of blends, you still can see it. And then I like to go in with some white when I'm sort of finishing, and it just adds a little highlighted area. Now, because these crayons have that sort of almost waxiness to them, it takes probably a day or that for them to dry and lose that sort of texture on them. But there you can see how I've do it this way, how I've just sort of highlighted the design, but it still works with the colors in the project. And that's one way you can add die cuts to your projects to add texture and a little focal element as well. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. And for more Inky backgrounds, be sure to check out the Inky background playlist.